Hello and welcome to Lake Trust MoneyCast. Do not adjust your computer, you're actually seeing me. This month the podcast goes from audio to video, and I'm here with Janet Barger, who is from Student Choice. She's a college financial aid specialist with over 30 years of experience in the education finance industry. She's a featured speaker across the United States, and she's helped thousands of families maximize free and low-cost sources of financial aid while providing much-needed education on the role of private student lending. Janet, thanks so much for being here today.
Eric, this is my pleasure. Thank you very much for you having me as well as Lake Trust.
Hey, no problem. Very happy to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about, obviously, student loans, but one thing that's going to come up a lot during the conversation is FAFSA. Can you just give our audience a quick definition of FAFSA?
FAFSA.
FAFSA.
One of the favorite words that we have out there for an acronym, right?
Yes.
It's the free application for federal student aid.
Okay, great. Well, today what we've done is compiled the most popular questions that we receive about student aid and FAFSA in general, and we're going to ask you those today. We're going to put you on the spot.
There you go. Oh, well, it'll probably be a question I may have heard before. What do you think?
Possibly. They are the most popular questions. So, all right, well, the first one, really fitting for this time of year, is tax season. Do I have to have my taxes done to complete FAFSA?
The free application for federal student aid,
yes,
the FAFSA, you do not have to have your taxes completed. A more typical misconception out there in the marketplace. So many people go, but I don't have my taxes done. As well prepared as we might think we are, as well organized, the FAFSA is available to be completed on January 1, but you do not have to have your taxes done at that time. You can actually do an estimate.
Okay, great. Do I have to know what school I'm going to be attending before I fill out FAFSA?
It's okay, I hear that a lot. No problem. No, you do not have to, absolutely not. As defined in the free application for federal student aid, you can complete it online or via snail mail. Yes, you can mail it in and do a paper copy. And you do not have to have a decision about what school you're attending, because they will allow you to list whatever schools you think you might want to attend. And using the online application, you can have up to 10 schools to offer that information to, or if you do it through snail mail, it's 4 schools. So recommend that you do it online because you have more options and it's a faster process.
Great. What if the information listed on the FAFSA application was using last year's taxes?
So what you're saying then is somebody uses previous data because they haven't done their taxes,
right,
so they want to be able to do their FAFSA. They can do a correction on that at any time. And I would recommend that if you do use last year's taxes, that you do remember to go back and make a correction so that information is updated accordingly.
Good. This next question, I imagine, was sent in on like a solid gold laptop. Our family makes a lot of money. Will they qualify for aid?
Let's see. Your family makes a lot of money. That's always an interesting one, and probably probably second to the tax question. And as a matter of fact, we got that question last night at a presentation that I did for Lake Trust.
The person was wearing a monocle and a top hat.
Not quite that entertaining or descriptive, but that is a misconception. And when I conduct these, we're going to fill it out because we know we're not going to get any aid. If you do not fill it out, you will assure yourselves and your child of not getting any aid. So I think it's very important that you complete the free application for federal student aid, because it is the best source of determining your qualifications for not only grants and scholarships, known as free money, but access to state and federal aid that might be beneficial to you. So don't exclude yourself from that opportunity by not completing the FAFSA.
Can't hurt to fill it out. So another way that people obviously get money for college is through scholarships.
Yes.
Where do we find these scholarships?
There are actually 2 ways, and fairly easy ways, to access scholarships. I bet you're going to be surprised when I say through the free application for federal student aid.
It does everything.
Almost everything except for filling itself out.
Right.
Okay, you do have to provide some information to that. So you do need to fill this out, but it's a great place to start because this free application allows you access to scholarships and grants that are available, and the school has the ability to award scholarships and grants through the FAFSA information. So there may be that best way to do that. Also, access, I mentioned earlier, with government or state aid. So that's a great source. And those scholarships that the school awards in many cases could be for academic achievements or athletic achievements. So it's really important to utilize the FAFSA to get access. The second way that you might look at this is go to your local library.
Oh.
Some of you may not even know that your library exists because you do everything by Googling, but the library is a great resource.
Is that where Amazon is?
That's actually probably where some people think that is,
Right.
okay? But they do have probably a college resource or college financing resource section, and two of my favorites are Kaplan and College Ed. And Kaplan and College Eds are published annually, so you can get updated information, and they would list available scholarships and grants, or scholarships specifically, to allow you to do that. And think about it. If you invest a little time in your research, you probably would be able to maximize the opportunity for free money. So here's another thing, though, that you might want to think about by finding scholarships. How about your local organizations or companies? They could have foundations that offer opportunities for scholarships, maybe $300, $400. How about $500 of free money that you could get, and the ability to do that? So you could apply for those, but if you don't research that and find out, there's no way you can do that.
Great. Wow. A lot of places to look for scholarships. What if you don't agree with the award letter that you've received from your school? What can you do?
Okay, so once you filled out your free application for federal student aid, we're getting a theme here?
Right.
Then you do get an award letter. And it's important that you look at that opportunity and maybe even go to the financial aid office to get some questions addressed. Maybe you don't agree with it because your circumstances changed. So you can go to the financial aid office and get some resolution that way. Or maybe you just don't even understand it, so you have the opportunity to go that. So it's important to go to the financial aid office, and that appointment is free. They don't charge you for that free advice. You can go in there and they will be able to address any award questions. If your circumstances changed, maybe because your financial situation has changed, you can appeal that process and provide them updated information, and they would adjust your award letter. And if they have the means, even if it's just your circumstances not changed, if they have the means, they will look at your aid and see if they can provide you additional support.
Great. Okay. Well, what if I'm an employed student working hard? Will that affect my aid?
I'm glad that you're employed.
Yeah. I didn't make too much money in college, so I would hope I could still qualify for something.
Well, and keep in mind, having a job should not necessarily keep you from being able to get aid, and it should not affect your ability to receive the aid. But when you complete your free application for federal student aid,
Or FEFSA.
Thank you, Eric. Those of you out there, I appreciate that you probably will stutter a little bit on that too. So
Right.
the fact that you've done that, I hear that a lot. I hear FAFSA a lot as opposed to FAFSA. So what goes on that form is actually everything that you include on your income tax. So if you are employed, you would be filling that income tax information out. And depending on the status that you are in at the time you complete that income tax and the data that you put in that income tax form would fill the FAFSA out. And so the application is going to reflect that, and that information will determine your ability about how much aid you're eligible to get and what kind of aid. Keep in mind, everyone is eligible for a Stafford loan, regardless of their income. So if you are working or not working, you could still get a Stafford. And the Stafford is determined by the student's status and the grade level they're in school. So depending on what their tax information is, the FAFSA formula utilizes that information to determine their aid.
Okay, great. Well, this is a very important question. In 2 words or less, how do I graduate with little or no debt? If you have to use more than 2 words, fine. but-
Eric, I think I'm going to have to use more than 2 words unless I just use an acronym. Guess where you start?
FAFSA.
There you go.
Yes.
So that's almost 2 words, right? Because it's with an acronym, it's 2 syllables. So we'll
Right.
go with 2 words. How's that? Well, so there again, completing the FAFSA allows you to have access to those scholarships and grants, which we like to call free money.
Sweet.
All right. Yes, we like free money. I'm happy to get free money. Love to get free money. we may have to talk about that since you're a financial institution, right? So in order to get that considered free money, scholarships and grants. So one of the things I want you to be aware of is that by filling out the FAFSA, you could create an environment where you get that free money, but there may be some stipulations associated with that free money. So if you're trying to get out for little or no debt, one of the ways you manage that is that scholarship or grant could have a requirement attached to it in order for you to keep that as free money. Could be based on your GPA, for example, or it could be based on the fact that you need to finish your fall semester with a certain number of hours. Or how about a grant from the state in which you're going to school? That state grant may be contingent upon your ability to work for 2 years after you finish at the university. And if you don't work that 2 years, you would have to pay that back. So we want free money, but you want to make sure that you understand if there are criteria or stipulations associated with that.
Right.
So true free money, yes, there's probably not a stipulation except maybe like a GPA. So it's important to do that. So the other part of that, and in my opinion, the best way to graduate without debt or little debt, I haven't found anybody that really graduates with no debt,
Right.
is by completing the FAFSA, taking advantages of those scholarships and grants, doing those individual searches that I talked about, because you can do that throughout your whole college career. You don't just do it as an entering freshman. Perhaps you go and find out, because there may be some opportunities for undergraduate free money. And then take advantage of those government loans, because those are usually low cost, low interest rate. So that's an option. And you know what? They'll let you make payments while you're in school if you can.
Oh, okay.
So you could actually reduce your amount of debt while you're in school. You said that you didn't make a lot of money in school, but
Right.
you know, they'll take $5, $10. There's no prepayment penalty.
Oh, okay,
So
that's
you could
good.
reduce your debt,
Great.
and when you graduate, have less debt to pay off. So not exactly free of debt or no debt, but be able to do that. And most student loans have that opportunity, so there's no penalty for prepayment.
Good. Well, that's good. That's good to keep in mind. Let's say we've graduated and we have some student loans. Who is responsible for paying those loans back? The student or the parent?
Another great question. And why is a parent in quotes?
Well, that was the hopefully it's the parents.
Oh, I missed the crossed fingers.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. All right. I assume your feet are crossed as well,
Right,
for
yes.
anybody. But you know, we're looking for those free monies, right? There's a lot of resources as it relates to loans specifically, but I think it's important for you to know that the Stafford government loan or Stafford loan is through the government, and that is in the student's name. You don't even have to have established credit. You could be 18 years old, never had a job before, and there's no credit requirement. So that's kind of a good deal, but
Wow.
it is in the student's name.
Ugh.
All right. Then there's another type of loan. It's called a PLUS loan. A PLUS loan is a parent loan for an undergraduate student. So who would be responsible for that loan?
The parents.
Oh, very good. See, those fingers crossed worked really well
Yes.
for you, didn't they? We got out of the responsibility of paying that particular loan off. So you're absolutely right. That belongs to the parent, and it is the parent's responsibility. But they are borrowing the money on behalf of their child to go to school. Then let's talk about private loans or private education lines of credit. Those are usually done by the student. So the student may be in a situation where they're unable to borrow it because of credit score or that kind of situation. So they could get a co-borrower, mom, dad, really friendly uncle or aunt.
Sure.
How about grandma?
Sure.
Whomever, okay, even a neighbor, unless you're going to do it for me when I go back to school, right? Okay, so anyone that meets the certain criteria for that line of credit or private student loan could be the co-borrower, and then both the student and the co-borrower are equally responsible for the loan.
Okay, so that's a nice little meeting in the middle there.
Right, the fingers crossed didn't work quite as well on that one, but you got
Right.
it.
Well, Janet, thanks. You've answered all of our questions. Just to recap, make sure you look for the FAFSA
Yes.
and fill that out. In most applications, that's what's going to help you. Check your local businesses and libraries and schools for scholarships. Janet, thanks so much for coming out and talking to us. A lot of information shared today, so that's great. It's going to help a lot of those young students out there. For more information on student loans, visit laketrust.org for financial aid and resource tools and information on Lake Trust student loans. I'm Eric Ozanek.
I'm Janet Barger, and thank you for the opportunity to be your first video.
Thanks so much for watching. Take care.